want to extend a massive Pebble Ripples welcome to Antoine Argouges, who is the CEO of Tulipshare, and he was previously in the world of dating apps as well, heavily into the dating apps, Lumen, Bumble, Match.com. Interesting to see a shift into fintech, Antoine. That must have been quite a culture shock, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the dating space is all about having an impact on people's life, and whether it's through their love life, their marriage life, it's all about having an impact. And really about Tulipshare, I wanted to keep this sort of connection with the user, with the product that I'm building, and this is why we decided to work on a really new innovative activism investment platform.
So that leads us into like a really nice way to sort of start properly in our lunch and learn, because everyone's sort of popped along to find out what an activist investor, what that means, what Tulipshare does, how they can get involved. We've talked a lot about how you can get involved with small amounts of money, and what impact you can have as an individual, especially, and we were sort of talking about a little bit about this before we went live, especially as I'm going to say most of us probably aren't, trading on the stock market. We're probably not, your average investor. So it'd be great to understand sort of, first of all, how Tulipshare works and what's different about Tulipshare.
Okay. So if some of you have stocks, if you own Apple stocks, Microsoft stocks, or if you have friends or family that own stocks in publicly listed company, and you ask them, have you ever used your shareholder rights to vote on a shareholder resolution or to engage with the company from a corporate governance perspective? Well, the answer is probably going to be no. No one or most of the retail investors, which is the everyday investors like you or me, do not engage with the companies, do not use their shareholder rights, sometimes just because they don't know about it, sometimes because their broker dealer do not allow it, sometimes because they just have no understanding of how the corporate governance aspect of their shareholder rights works. A shareholder activist is just a shareholder that utilizes shareholder rights to engage with the company he's investing in, most of the time for his own gain. So you have a lot of famous shareholder activists out there. If you see, for example, when Elon Musk just bought Twitter, it is a kind of a shareholder activism approach where someone is disappointed with the way a business is run, or for him, he bought the whole company. But what most of them do is they buy significant stake in the company that they want to pursue, and they try to drive change by utilizing their shareholder rights. If you buy stocks in a company, you are owner of a little piece of the company. Therefore, you can have a say in the way the business is run. And this is exactly what we're doing at Tulipshare. We are a broker-dealer platform regulated in the UK. And on our platform, you create an account and you can buy stocks in publicly listed company. But every time you buy stock, we have a campaign attached to the stock. For example, you buy Amazon, and we will use your Amazon shareholder rights aggregated with every other investor on the platform to engage the company on improving workers' rights. We are going to do it with Coca-Cola on plastic pollution. We are doing it with Salesforce on diversity hiring, and we're doing it with Johnson & Johnson on cancer-causing product in the health and beauty line. This is what we're doing. So we're basically a platform where every stock that is listed is attached to a campaign, and everyone who has a connection of either a value-driven connection with the stock and the campaign that we have listed can come and create an account and participate in this investment. It is an investment, so ultimately you're making an investment decision. We're not advising people on what stock to buy or which campaign to support. There is currently 10 campaigns, so 10 stocks listed on Tulipshare. People make their own opinion. What we do is by aggregating those shares together, we are able to engage with the company with a single point of contact. So it's, if you, Georgina, do not like plastic pollution, same as me, well, why don't we work together to engage with Coca-Cola? It might sound like a little bit of a 1 + 1 = 2, but ultimately it has never been done in the history of the stock market. No one has ever wanted the everyday investors to say, wait a second, you have stocks in Coca-Cola, I have stocks in Coca-Cola. Why don't we group them together, just to engage with the company.
I think that's what struck me about it as really powerful, is that we often struggle in this sort of race to net zero, to be more sustainable, to kind of figure out how as individuals we make an impact bigger than just buying a product, or we tell our friends about something or tell our family. And it can feel quite disenfranchised, can't it, when you're just like, you know, a top level people kind of going, oh, well, what can an individual do? What can one consumer do? This turns that on its head really nicely and puts you together with people that share your values.
Absolutely. And, you know, in the system we live in, which is so much driven by corporation, when we know that the top global polluters are all corporation, even above some certain country level of carbon emission, you are looking at a systemic change that is needed. And this systemic change cannot be made without the use of money. You know, money is one of the most powerful tools that we have invented, and therefore money will be able to change money. We are giving you this sort of you and our users this sort of fast track access to an insider view of how a company is run, and the ability to, well, use something that is different from day-to-day protest or consumer boycotting, but that is just saying, let's change the system from within. If I want to change global plastic pollution, Coca-Cola is the top global plastic polluter. Let's buy enough share in Coca-Cola to be able to drive the change from within. Because at this moment, then you have a systemic change in the company's mindset that is, and when I mean the company, you know, it's people behind companies, it's board of director execs that are saying, oh, I have a group of shareholders that will support the change, whatever happened to the share price or whatever happened to the, or at least with a very strong conviction that this is what they want the company to be doing.
I mean, it literally gives you a seat at the table in a way, isn't it? Sort of through the shareholder voting. You were talking a little bit before we went live about sort of AGMs, and that's your chance to push votes forward to make these changes. For anyone that isn't really sort of on top of this, how often do you get, just sort of talk us through a campaign, how often do you get a chance to sort of force take part in a vote? Or AGMs are generally every year, aren't they? So every year you kind of get a sense of whether action is possible.
Yeah, so the activism cycle actually never stops. If you have one share in Microsoft, you can engage with the Microsoft board of director and investors relation team. Now, will they answer you, or will they actually take your demand seriously? If you own only one share in a multi-billion-dollar business, that's a different question. Through Tulipshare, we are engaging continuously with the company, the IR team and the exec team. The goal for us is to build a relationship with the company, showing them that we have a seat at the table and that we are actors that needs to be listened to, because we are representing a decentralized system of thousands of retail investors, of everyday investors, and therefore that wants to have a say to the company strategy. But if the negotiations do not progress as much as we want, or if the discussion do not go in the way our users and community wants it, then obviously we have certain actions that are doable, such as you mentioned shareholder resolutions that are pushed on at the AGMs. You can also ask for a change in directors' seats. You can ask for a change on the pay, which is called the say on pay. So you can issue recommendation on the way the exec team are being compensated based on certain criteria. You can also change the corporate bylaw and the company bylaw, or ask for a change. But we are utilizing this whole playbook and really. Well, so on Tulipshare at the moment, we have 3 campaigns that are leading to a vote in 2022, one being in Johnson & Johnson in 2 days. And now every shareholder at Johnson & Johnson is being called for a vote to say, what do you think on this issue that is pushed forward by Tulipshare? The company has not given us satisfaction onto the resolution of the issue. Therefore, we are now saying, this is out of this discussion. Let's just ask everyone else's opinion. And this is a very strong it's a very strong first time. You know, retail investors from the UK have been engaging and with Johnson & Johnson, and now this vote is happening in 2 days, which will which will probably for us be a landmark event in the future of this platform.
I mean, it's a really good time to be talking, because that is it's a direct result of the actions that everyone on Tulipshare so far, so individual investors, have had via you on this massive multinational company where, you know, you want to stop them doing something. And I think for, you know, we are where we are in terms of politics and industries and things not happening fast enough, and we get frustrated at the lack of corporate action or corporate governance. This feels like a different way to force action, rather than just calling people out on social media or boycotting products or you know, any others of those protests.
And those are all valid mechanisms, and they need to live alongside, except that what we found is a new route that has never been exploited or never been used before. And we really want to make it accessible to the everyday person by simplifying it, by educating people, by being the forefront of this. You're absolutely right. If you look at our Amazon resolution to improve workers' rights, most of the people will tell you, well, in that case, stop shopping at Amazon. But ultimately, you know, Amazon has a great service. If you look at their delivery and their and all of their structure, it is a great company and it is a great product. Now, is it the consumer responsibility that the driver do not have time to go on a toilet break, or that the people who work in the fulfillment center have terrible working condition? Well, we've been made believe that it is the consumer responsibility. A lot of people are starting to think that maybe it's a political response that is needed, but it is ultimately a shareholder response that is required. It is shareholders at Amazon that needs to say, what do we think about this issue, and how do we want this company to be perceived and going forward on workers' rights and workers' condition. When we pushed our resolution, it was before Amazon First Union appeared in the US and all of that, but ultimately we are at the right place at the right time in the company history to be pushing this sort of resolution in front of every other shareholder, which do not necessarily require a consumer response or a consumer accountability or a political statement. It is a shareholder problem, and shareholders have to sort it.
Well, I like as well that you don't have to understand the ins and outs of all of this, because this can be overwhelming and time consuming for, you know, say someone who's got small kids and is running around, you know, trying to just juggle life. But by putting your sort of weight behind what you're doing, you're still having that impact. What's the sort of tipping point for Tulipshare? Like how many users do you want to grow to? Because I think you've got 10,000 at the moment, which, you know, considering you launched this year, is amazing.
Yeah, we are looking hopefully to onboard 100,000 people in the UK only, and we are expanding our product to the US and Europe. The goal is, again, this formula that says you and I plus people from Madrid, Los Angeles, Toronto, Miami should be unifying our shareholder power together to drive change in those massive corporations that have such an impact on the system we live in. It makes total sense to do it. The real question is, why was it never done before? Why was it so complex? Why was it so opaque? But ultimately, we are simplifying it. We are doing it on the behalf of the user. We are engaging with those corporations and reporting the progress of the activism. So
I can see, you know, you're obviously taking all of the learnings from dating apps in a way, which have transformed our lives and made things so much simpler in a way, and, you know, use very individual data very cleverly to do something that has, you know, impact in the corporate world. Do you take, so deciding to choose which campaigns to take forward or which companies to try and make change in, do you take, can individual investors suggest like what companies that they want to tackle?
Very good question. So the campaigns on Tulipshare, the first campaigns were all created by the team in-house and then pushed forward. Ultimately, we realized that by creating a community of like-minded, value-driven investors, you have people with a lot of ideas that want to participate. And if in 2 days Johnson & Johnson vote, whatever the outcome, positive or negative, requires a follow-up campaign, then it's the community that will decide what should we push next. Should we keep pushing the same item? Should we now decide for a strategical change? should we try to find more ally and have a different approach? It is the community that can decide. We have open as well. We have open campaign suggestions from the community. So we are receiving a lot of campaigns ID for our next AGM season. We are also opening the campaigns to external people and external organization. If people had a campaign idea that they wanted from the ground up to work, well, we could be a technology platform that supports this, because it makes complete sense. In a way, this platform it's the platform for everyone to decide your money, your voice, and we really want to be this platform for everyone.
A bit like a kind of corporate assembly in a way. And I'm, obviously when it's up to people whether they invest or, when we can't encourage people to invest, but just it's £1, isn't it? That's the smallest investment that people can make on the platform. So it's a very low entry.
Yeah, so people are making investments.
Try.
It is a financial investment. You're investing on the stock market your own money, which has impact obviously if the stock market goes up or down, which puts your capital at risk. But you can make a difference with Tulipshare and participate in the campaigns with as little as £1. And I'd rather have 100,000 people that put £1 each than one wealthy individual that has £100,000. It makes complete sense for our community to be a community for everyone who wants to support those campaigns. And for most of the people that participate so far, you are looking at obviously under 35 first-time investors on the stock market. In Western Europe, we are 90 to 95% of the population do not own any share directly. So how do you convince those people to set foot into the financial system? I believe through a community of like-minded investors like ours. Once people realize that with £10 you can potentially change Coca-Cola, then it changes everything. Obviously, we still need, we launched in July, so we don't even have a year of learning and focus. But with Johnson & Johnson, with Salesforce, with Amazon, AGM coming along, all pushed by UK retail investors, we will get this proof of credibility that yes, it is a system that works. And in my mind, it already works. Just the fact that we are putting in front of Jeff Bezos and Amazon executive a workers' right statement that they are forced to read, it is a victory for us to say we are pushing our agenda, and our only guarantee to our users is that we'll do our best to engage with those corporations and put your ideas into their roadmap.
Yeah. And actually, there's been an interesting question come from Danielle, which sort of feeds into this, so I thought I'd ask it now. How many, for the Johnson & Johnson case, how many investors do you need for you to be taken seriously? Like, is there a sort of standardized tipping point, or does it change company by company? What have you found so far?
There is absolutely a standardized tipping point, and it's the beauty of it is that it is not defined by the company, it's defined by the SEC, therefore the US governmental organization, and it is $25,000. You need to have $25,000 worth of stocks that you own if you want to submit a shareholder proposal. Obviously, it's achievable, and what's interesting is that it's submitting a shareholder proposal and pushing an item on the company's roadmap is more achievable to do at Starbucks than potentially at Greg's in the UK, which creates a unique, knowing the impact those companies have on our system. It's very, very important that people use it. Now, again, coming back to why does no one know about this? It was $2,000 worth of stocks that was held for a year before Donald Trump changed it to $25,000. Why are we making it harder for the everyday investors to submit shareholder proposal? That's also another question.
I wonder why. I mean, when you've got the world's rich, it's a very interesting week that we're having this conversation. You've got the world's richest man who's just bought Twitter. That is one, I guess, very extreme example of shareholder activism. But for most of us, that's not possible. So I feel like this is the opposite of that. This is working together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's really about putting the power back in people's hands and saying, you want to have an impact on your life. Massive corporations have probably more impact than political organization nowadays. And we know we are going more and more into a corporatist driven world. It makes complete sense to put back the retail investors into the boardroom rather than exclude it from here. It is now the tipping point for it, because, you know, there is a moment where you don't want to make it too much inaccessible or completely left on the side. And we're seeing this movement, you know, both in since we started the business, what happened with the GameStop Reddit, you could see, or even in the crypto space, which could be a start of a financial at least perceptive revolution. You have seen also the Engine One and an Exxon vote on board of directors. Recently, Joe Biden and his administration issued an SEC guidance to accept more and more ESG investors focus in resolutions. So because the ESG, when we submit a shareholder proposal, it is a discussion between us, the company, and the SEC. So you have a tri-party discussion, which involves a lot of back and forth with lawyers, and this is why also it's so inaccessible for the everyday people. It's that, you know, you need to have a strong team and a strong understanding of how does that work to be able to get it through.
Definitely, and this is a sort of, you know, testament that you've gone and built this almost from the ground up. Talking a bit about the campaigns, because the campaigns are really an important part, aren't they? It's not that you're just investing into a company and hoping for the best that it might change. You're specifically targeting different social and environmental causes, and I think that's quite interesting. And in fact, it's not just plastic pollution. It's, as you said, workers' rights at Amazon. It was the right to repair at Apple, wasn't it?
Exactly, so, the right to repair and a focus on e-waste at Apple. We are also looking at diversity hiring at Salesforce, removing of talc-based baby product at Johnson & Johnson that contains acetose. You know, you are looking at anything that can keep the system fair and sustainable is worth for us exploring. We really want to have this ethos driving our decision making into which campaign we put on our platform, and we use our learnings and our experience, which is still quite short but very successful, into okay, when we get campaigns ideas or partnership opportunity on campaigns, is this really scientifically, ethically, and technically viable to push forward? Because it is no need for us to have a campaigns that we know will have not only zero chance of success, but and a complete unfeasibility, because the companies are pushing back really hard. They don't want to have us being there and affecting their roadmap and their priorities. So they are pushing back with everything they got. So we got to be very, very strict as to what can we do.
So it's not a case of going, for example, hey, Coca-Cola, stop producing Coca-Cola. It's, hey, Coca-Cola, stop making it in plastic bottles.
Exactly. And the same for every other campaign. Now we have to have, because it is a discussion with the company that can lead into a vote, but that can also lead into a settlement and an agreement. So we have to keep all of the doors open from a business to business discussion in order to bring the best outcome, which is we want change. You know, our users, us, we all want change. So let's do whatever it takes to have this change and this impact.
And so we had a question pop through from Emilio, which I thought actually ties into this, which I thought I'd ask now. So we've obviously started in the UK. You've got 10,000 people in the UK. You want 100,000. How can other people from other countries join in? Can they join in at the moment, or does it have to be launched in different countries, sort of one at a time? What's the sort of rollout process?
It is a regulated activity. We are a financial broker dealer, so we have to have license and proper structure in place in every country that we want to operate. The first one we are going after is the USA, because of its size, because of the interest of its companies, and because of the maturity of the market that is ready for a product like ours. If you look at the UK or the US, there is so many impact and ESG investing products for retail investors that are, in my opinion, purely greenwashing. And we are coming in with a very simple line, which is you buy Coca-Cola to ban plastic, you buy Amazon to improve workers' rights, and we try to do it. We don't guarantee anything. We just try to do it. And if it works, it's a massive success. And if it doesn't succeed, then at least we would have tried our best. That's the only thing that we want to do.
So after the States, where would you next look to?
Yeah, obviously we're trying to get the European license to be able to passport into every European countries. And we are also looking into how can we expand the type of companies that we affect, because corporate governance and shareholder activism has got different criteria and thresholds based on the country you live in and the country the company is listed in. So a US company have different criteria than a French, than a Swiss company. If users wants to go and create a campaign at Nestlé, you would need $1 million Swiss franc, which is different than the 100 individual investors that you need in the UK, which is different than $25,000 that you need in the US. So it's everything is every country is different.
And yet, I guess for the first couple of years, it's going to be testing, like how quickly you can reach that threshold, what the success rate is, what the legislative challenges are, all of those sort of things that people are along supporting you and sort of helping you work out. Exactly. And we wouldn't sort of, we do have to talk slightly about risk. So do people, obviously we have to flag up that, as you mentioned, capital is at risk. Talk us through that sort of investing journey. So what would an individual's journey investing be like?
So someone would come onto the platform, create an account, pass his KYC, which is what we know as the Know Your Customer, which is basically a lot of information that you have to give about yourself in order to prove that you are who you are. And then you have to top up your account like any investment platform, and then you decide which campaigns you want to buy stock into. On the platform, you can't really miss it. It's every campaign is attached to a stock. If you're looking at a campaign, you are looking at a campaign and a stock at the same time. So that's how it works. And then obviously, well, people decide, they decide when they want to join into the campaign. They decide when they want to exit. We're not controlling the buying or the selling of the securities, just like any other broker dealer out there. The only thing that we're doing differently is that we are engaging with the company that you are investing in, which is again a very new, completely new process.
I mean, for new investors, because that's generally who we're talking about, what sort of timescale should they be thinking that this is an investment for? Is it an investment, or is that completely up to them? So it could be an investment for a year, it could be an investment until the vote happens, and then they can sell stock afterwards. We've got another question that I'll lead on to, Geraldine. I've got your question, so I'll come on to that in a second, just so you know I've sort of seen it. But yeah, I'm just so to give people that kind of like, oh, I'm going to do this, and actually if I put £100 in, say, I know that £100 is going to be tied up for 6 months or a year or 5 years. Like, what's your recommendations?
We don't give any recommendations.
Sorry, not recommendations.
No, but like, to be fair, we don't give any recommendation, and we really, like, it is people own decision. If you see value into the platform, and if we see value in the product that we are building and the campaigns that we are pushing forward, there will continuously be an amount of interesting, there is an unlimited amount of problem to fix. So we feel like the more we are moving forward, the more we are creating a positive energy feedback loop and progress, the more people will come on board and support and just use us as a financial investment platform. Now, as I said, people do what they want, and really we're not here to judge or to advise on anything. The only thing that we are is that obviously, if you want to see the campaigns come through, we are today looking at people who are mostly buyer rather than seller. And despite the misperformance in the market, we are seeing that the people support on the long term on the platform. But that makes complete sense, because all our acquisition and customer journey is towards, you know, fighting plastic at Coca-Cola or improving diversity at Salesforce, and therefore you are engaged onto the campaigns, which has an annual cycle. So you are already looking at least a midterm to long-term perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about people investing for a cause and for change rather than for profit or loss. You know, people traditionally invest for profit. So we can't sort of get away from the fact that Tulipshare is still investing in these companies that are big corporations where we know there are problems, and perhaps people might have avoided buying their products before or buy alternatives. What's the sort of feeling for Tulipshare around like any profit that is made, or the fact that people are still giving their money to these unethical corporations? How do we tackle that feeling?
It's the eternal debate of invest versus divest, and every asset manager on the planet is having it with different perspective and opinion. How I see this, Coca-Cola is the top global plastic polluter according to many surveys. You want to change plastic pollution, you are tired of plastic pollution in rivers and oceans and beaches next to your house. You change Coca-Cola, you change your world. That's as simple as this. If you don't buy those equity or at least invest in those companies as a passionate, value-driven investors, you are leaving the space for another type of investor that might not have your ethos or at least the same vision for the companies and its future. So realistically, we are making the impact where it will do the most of the impact. We're not here to finance a new soft drink that promotes ethical plastic sourcing, or we're here to say, let's go for the biggest plastic polluters and try to change them from within. Same goes for our JP Morgan campaign to fight for oil and gas financier. We got tons of questions from users, the press, the media that says, wait, why would I want to invest in JP Morgan, who's the largest oil and gas financier, if I really, well, the thing is, exactly, if you force JP Morgan by becoming a shareholder and asking them to change their financing strategy of renewable, of energy and as a whole of fossil fuel energy, then you are telling, you are changing the world. So this is our perception. There is a lot of other opportunities out there for people who wants to support a different type of strategy. We believe that you have to go for those actors to be able to change the world, because if you don't, then you're not actually making the impact that it's deserved.
I mean, I guess we're sort of saying, we can't pretend that Coca-Cola doesn't exist. Just using Coca-Cola as an example, they're not going to disappear. So forcing them to change is better than waiting for them to change, or just ignoring the elephant in the room. There's quite a few questions coming through, and they're really varied. So I wonder,
question.
Amelia, do you want to ask your follow-up question, or are you happy for me to ask it? I can't see you on my screen. No, right.
Start at the top of questions because I see a lot. See if we have answered them. So I see.
I was just going to ask. So Amelia's kind of leads on. What is the minimum quota of shares that you must have to be able to propose a Tulipshare campaign at an AGM or to have a voice? I think that goes back to what you were saying, and that it's different for every country.
Yeah, and we've answered that. I think already, but I can say it again. If you want to submit a resolution in the US, you need to own $25,000 worth of stocks for a year.
Yeah, and anyone that has Tulipshare, is a Tulipshare member, can suggest campaign examples for you.
Well, we're not putting every campaign suggestion that we're receiving, obviously, just also because we're such a small platform at the moment that we need to centralize not only resources but our focus. That's why we only have 10. We have only 10 campaigns. But we have open campaign suggestion to focus onto the future. So yes, absolutely.
People can suggest for the future. That's sort of the bit I think he was asking. Danielle, do you want to ask your question, because I can see you on screen?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Antoine, thank you so much for this. This is really fascinating. I'm sorry I had to nip out because the doorbell rang. But so sorry if I missed it, but how does Tulipshare work in terms of how's it funded? Like, how are you earning money? Like, how are you surviving? Are you taking a percentage of people's investments? I was just curious as how that sort of works on the back end.
Absolutely. So we're taking a commission on every trade. We don't take an annual fee or running fee. We take a commission on every trade. That's based on the value of on the notional value of your investment. So if you're investing, let's say £100, we will take 7% of that and invest 93 and keep 7 for the platform. This is because going after Apple, they have a bigger legal team than ours, and we need resources to be able to create this momentum.
Yeah.
On the side, well, clearly the business, like a lot of startup, we're still at a very early stage. So we are relying on external funding. We have received private capital investment that took share in our company because they believe in our model and they believe that we could be maybe a huge player in the wealth management space just because of our disruptive approach to it, and the fact that as I said, 90 to 95% of the population do not own any shares directly. What's going to convince them to join a platform? And we believe we could be that platform, at least that for most of the people that will set their next foot into the financial system.
And I think that's really, it's really interesting. Like, so Client Earth, who we love at Pebble, do this with legal cases, taking on governments and all levels, fighting on the side of the environment and sort of tackling it in the legal system. But it's quite hard to get involved in a Client Earth campaign because it's all done by lawyers, even if you are very passionate about the subject that they're fighting on. Whereas this gives you a way to feel involved, doesn't it? Sort of. A lot of these big corporate cases and massive multinationals, it's very difficult to feel like you've got a voice. So I guess coming together with lots of other shareholders gives you that feeling.
I agree. And if you want to have their attention, you need to speak through a centralized entity, and also because Vanguard, BlackRock, some of the largest asset manager out there that are positioned into most of the company we've talked about so far in the last 40 minutes, they are engaging with those companies. They are speaking with the centralized touch points saying, hey, we own X amount of shares in this company. That's how we want this company to be run. But no one does it for retail investors. No one does it to have this centralized touch points from a decentralized system. And this is really whom we want to be. Because if we don't do it, other people are doing it. That's also one way. And for sure, those conversations are happening, except it's all done in backroom discussion. You don't have access to it. And we really want to shed this light on it. And by representing the everyday investors, companies do realize that they have to take an engagement with us. So we're seeing good results in that. So our strategy is clearly working.
And what happens if you win in 2 days' time at Johnson & Johnson? What's apart from a big celebration, what happens next?
Well, it changes everything. It changes everything because, as I said, you will have most of the people in Western Europe and North America that will realize that with a very little investment, they could participate in world-changing campaigns. And even if whatever the outcome, we are already seeing this as a win. We have 3 votes coming along. The model is working. If you have an idea and you want to push it and it makes complete sense, then we will help you to push it. That's us.
It's fascinating. I've got another question from Emilio. Could it be said that Tulipshare is an asset management company, but with the disruptive difference of the ethical proposals?
Not really, because we're not managing the assets of our users. They're their own wealth advisors and financial advisor on that. So, and we really, again, we don't want to be in this position. We just want to be the platform that lets you do it, that lets you utilize your shareholder rights. So being an asset manager is a complete different
So it's a funnel. It's very much a funnel into this activism rather than a sort of a wealth management strategy.
Absolutely.
It's the thing. We've had some really interesting questions so far, which is fantastic. Does anyone else have any other questions for Antoine? And I'd love to know what you guys think about Tulipshare, like whether this idea is revolutionary to you, if it's.
I've seen a question that's interesting that says, is it better to go for big companies or for small companies?
That one.
What's interesting here is everyone knows there's a plastic problem at Coca-Cola. Whether or not they're drinking Coca-Cola, whether or not they're interested into plastic pollution or eco-friendly views, everyone knows there is a plastic problem at Coca-Cola. Everyone knows there's a packaging issue at McDonald's. Everybody knows that there is a workers' right issue at Amazon. I think even people who are not customers of Amazon know that there is a workers' right issue in Amazon fulfillment and delivery center. Those campaigns are able to rally people, as I said, from Berlin, Madrid, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, because everyone is able to address those issues. We are not at a scale where we are able to go for more narrower and more maybe more accessible from an activism perspective. But we are looking into it is the attractiveness of the campaign and the companies that does create this sort of effect to appeal to new joiners and new investors on the platform. So we really think that we need to keep going for big companies because it's also not the one, it's the one who will have most impact if we change them. And it's also the companies that everybody knows and is able to understand that how the problem is going to be addressed and fixed.
Yeah, because you're not having to educate people about the campaign and the platform, because we all understand the problem, which I think is and something we can all unite behind as well. You know, it's very, you know, I'd say quite difficult to find someone who's probably pro single-use plastic at Coca-Cola. Cool. Okay, guys, I know a few of you have need to go by about 10 to 2. So are there any other questions to Antoine while we've got him? In terms of what, if you're interested and you want to follow this up, we have a great piece on Pebble, which I will send out to everybody as well that's on the call, talking through the sort of customer journey and also what Tulipshare does if you want to refer back to it. And everyone can find Tulipshare on social media and give you guys a follow and sort of see how the campaign goes, see how the vote goes in a couple of days as well. So it's at Tulipshare, isn't it? Pretty much on everything, I think.
Oh, you're putting me under so much pressure and stress.
We'll check in a couple of days. Don't worry. We'll.
I know. It's happening, huh? And that's the beauty of it. It's really it's all coming to a concrete realization now.
Like you said, it's getting this far is a win already. So I think it's fantastic. It's going to be really interesting watching this story and seeing you guys grow. You can pop over to Tulipshare on social media at Tulipshare, and it's tulipshare.com, I believe, isn't it, on the URL? So super simple. And also I'll pop over the detailed sort of breakdown of all the points that we talked about via the Pebble article to everyone, that you got that to refer back to. And I'd love to hear on the community as well over the next couple of days or when you're next on, to hear what you think. If there's something of interest, is this something you can see yourself signing up to? What do you think about the model? I think it's absolutely fascinating. It's so incredible that no one's done this before, and also giving individuals a more political and financial impact. That we
anyone who has a campaign ID is really invited to come and send us the suggestion. We are reviewing them every day and every week at a more higher level in the company. So really, if you have ID, please send them our way. We're always open to suggestion on how to improve or which company should we work with next. So please.
Amazing. I have a feeling Emilio might have some suggestions just from his questions. So yeah, Emilio, you know, you can get involved and pop your suggestions over. Thank you so much, guys, for spending your lunchtime with us. Thank you so much, Antoine, for coming and telling us all about Tulipshare and explaining exactly how it works. Yeah, just hats off to all of you guys and your team for getting this underway. It's fantastic that you're taking these companies to account. Yeah, I'm going to be watching, see how it goes.
Thank you for having us, and thank you to everyone who asked a question.
No, not at all. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Have a lovely Tuesday afternoon. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.